Okay, done.
Great. Hi, everyone. It's the December 18th Jupyter Frontends and Accessibility call. We have a light agenda today, and it looks like Mike is still the only person on the agenda, so I'll pass it on to him.
Hi there. It's a good day for releases because JupyterLab 4.3.4 and 4.4.0 Alpha 1 were released. You can try it now on Binder or install locally. The highlights are fixing of CI, which started failing in the previous 4.3.3 release, which was related to Playwright browser check that we recommend for extensions, and because of a bug where Chromium running in a Docker container doesn't have local data and language codes are incorrect, it was failing. We now have a workaround that shouldn't affect users, but only extension authors. There are a couple other bug fixes which also include some contrast improvements and stuff like that. And for release, I think a major bug fix that's included is an issue where some users were unable to scroll over long cells because the mirror editor was emitting a focus event, which was jumping them back to the cell in which they were previously. So hopefully this will be gone, and maybe we will even backport that to the 4.3, our current stable, but it would be best if users could have some time to test that and confirm that it's working, so that that the cost of potential changes that the new code mirror version introduce will be really worth it. Another feature that was added, I will highlight, is an option to import settings. So on the alpha version, we have an export now, which produces an overrides JSON file. And that's very handy because you can use that for configuration purposes, but also you can then upload this overrides JSON back and get the settings populated. So I think that's pretty cool. Otherwise, what we discussed last week, the content providers PR allowing to remove RTC prefix is up. And thanks, Jeremy, for taking a look at it. But yeah, anyone else, it's open for comments and reviews. Hopefully we could include that in a release soon. Maybe even next week. That would be perfect to allow like wider testing of the collaboration and this pull request together by the users, especially with different extensions, because there is just no easy way for an end user right now to get this pull request and the RTC changes, because it requires a little bit of a black magic to link the packages between Yarn and it's just a bit complex. So I personally would lean on the side, let's merge it, release an alpha of collaboration, and iterate, or possibly even revert, worst thing, rather than try to get it perfect on the first try. that's it from me. And if you are not following something that's not on the agenda, there are some interesting developments on Jupyter AI and JEPRI proposal as well, relating to how to consume contents, how the language models can consume variables from notebooks. I will link that in the chat. And yeah.
Thanks, Mike. Well, I don't think there's anything added in the interim, right? Yeah. So, is there anything anyone else would like to talk about?
Maybe next next week and the week after. Next week is December 25th, and the week after is the 1st of January. Is any one of you here planning to attend these meetings, or maybe we should just cancel them? And if we cancel them, then maybe, yeah, we can have it written somewhere in an issue, or so it's a bit more visible.
Quick show of hands, who's going to attend next week?
Probably not. Yeah.
And on the 1st, is it? Yes, the 1st. Like, if there's at least one hand, I can try to join on the 1st, but 25th, I'm out.
I see 0 hands.
All right. Well, so got some docs stuff. So right now, if you go to any of the JupyterLab sites on Read the Docs, you can't find the TypeScript API reference because Sphinx does not know how to index those raw HTML files. And our theme does not know how to use the Elasticsearch backend that Read the Docs provides. We fixed some stuff, but I don't even know how I want to proceed on that. I really don't want to trying to get stuff into a doc tree from HTML is nightmarish. And trying to write things against the Read the Docs JavaScript API, quote unquote, is also nightmarish because we have zero control. Like if you deploy a workaround, it could break tomorrow because they would inject a new version of the thing. So yeah, there was that. We also don't have any of the Python API available in the docs. We're just not using Autodoc or anything like that, which is kind of orthogonal to, the TypeScript docs. But the only real way out, which I also don't really like, is what Pyodide has going on, because it's very Pyodide centric, right? So they have forked a thing written by and then abandoned by Mozilla that will let you get the output of TypeDoc directly into Sphinx as a JS domain. And that would be dope because then if you are, you can interlink between sites much more easily. Like we're interlinking between Lumino and JupyterLab by hand right now, basically, with some TypeDoc config. But yeah, it doesn't, it doesn't work with the version that it's. I think there are a couple versions back on which TypeDoc they support and stuff like that. So I don't know. I don't know what product we're trying trying to provide in that doc site. And then the last tip on it, and I think I mentioned this before, we only use PyTest check links against the sources of the documentation, not the built documentation. And this means that we are not finding broken links in non-deterministic content like changelog stuff and things that come into existence late. So I don't know. It would be, if you want to keep using maintainer tools, it would be a PR and a bunch of stuff to that, or just take it over and do it locally, or something like that. But not being able to run it locally is kind of brutal in a meaningful way. If you're trying to change a lot of stuff on the doc site, like this search stuff that I'm talking about. That's all. If there's any thoughts there as to what we should be doing, I'd be happy to try.
When I was writing the documentation for content providers, I wanted to provide next to the examples, I wanted to provide links to the API reference on JavaScript side. And apart from there being no auto-linking, it's just pretty hard, these things, to make like a span which is a code, formatted as a code, and is a link. And it's actually pretty controversial that Sphinx doesn't support that. So like the only solution which would make it somewhat pleasant to work docs which interlink is this kind of like, get it into JS domain in Sphinx, or we need to start thinking outside of the Sphinx box and possibly like Mist or other kind of Jupyter book, explore what are the alternatives.
Well, book, you take on a lot of risk. If it, that's a big ship, and it has a lot of opinions built in. Yeah, Mist is fine. I mean, it's fine. Putting it in your docs doesn't mean you have to put it in your product. It's got many of the same problems. So it's, you just got to manage the hell out of it, right? Like they'll just change stuff between versions, and then your stuff doesn't parse anymore because now it's correct or whatever. So, yeah, I mean, nobody loves RST, right? Like I'm not, I don't think that's controversial. Now we could probably write, so there, TypeDoc already takes like 7 minutes to run, which is a bummer. And it can only generate one thing at a time. So it's either going to generate HTML or it's going to generate JSON. We could, and I hadn't really dug into this, we could at least create, we could template out like redirect pages. So we could generate that JSON. So now it'd be a 14-minute docs build to get to the TypeDoc. And then use that to generate some sensible thing. We could make a Sphinx directive that didn't let you directly do autolink. Nah, that would be bad. Nah. Like we could, so we could spend the 7 minutes, build the whole thing, but then we'd have to, we don't want to parse TypeScript. We don't want to parse the TypeDoc output because then that just makes it complex to upgrade, and it's kind of a beast. So that JSON output would be good, except that also has no JSON schema, so that could also break and require rebuilding. So I don't know. It's not a great situation on the main. I think I thought we already had Mist in the docs build. Let me look here. Yeah, you got Mist. You don't have Mist NB, so don't run code with it, but you can write Mist. You can write MD.
It's just a matter of rewriting some of the pages, most of the pages which are not in Mist.
That's fine. But yeah, sweet Jesus, let's not go to like Dockosaurus or something. I don't like when React crashes and then my page doesn't load. because some third-party thing doesn't work. I've been unimpressed by that. Yeah, I mean, if you're doing new start stuff, do it in Markdown. Be happy. But I mean, yeah, today we're kind of stuck with, you have to know the exact weird mangled file name, and we're backfilling those because they changed it to work better for non-Roman characters, whatever, long story. So, that will get picked up by the link checker, which is cool, because it does do the 7-minute build before it runs the link checker, even though it doesn't check the links on those pages that it built, but it checks that the inbound links to those pages do exist. So yeah, you're not getting any completion for that, but you're not getting any completion for that in RST anyway.
Thanks for looking into the options.
Yeah, don't love it. A small rebellion. That's the best kind of rebellion. I saw a new thing. It's on the old Hacker News, called Schemio, which is like Draw.io. Where's their demo? There we go. And this is similar to CoCalc's whiteboards and stuff like that, except without any computation. What I love about it is it actually has transclusion. So you're not just making a copy or a picture or whatever of a diagram in a diagram, but it's actually the thing. So if you edit it in one place, it edits it in multiple places. Unfortunately, it's an absolute nightmare of like Svelte, React, Vue. I don't know what's going in there. It's not packaged. It's not anything we could use. I wouldn't even want to build an extension around it because it's so crazy. But I like what the UI does. I like that it has everything as a diagram, and diagrams can contain diagrams. And as we nibble on the ideas that we've known for a decade now, that we want things like presentations, this is that ability to include things from other places is extremely powerful. Which, to the Markdown point, right? That's not built into baseline Markdown. You can't write files in small files and then combine them into a big file. You can do that with Mist. You can do it with the MDX. There's a couple of flavors that have transclusion, but actual literate programming constructs are nice. I don't know. It's fun to play with, though. Ah, 4.4.0 A1 is now on Counterforge. Huzzah. Jeremy, is Notebook coming like with today in the hour or whatever on there, or?
No, I don't think so. I don't think we have a day to the previous alpha.
Yeah. No, not the alpha. The other one that has the 4.3.4 changes. Whatever.
Okay, yeah.
It's late in the day. I'm not telling you to do it. I was just wondering because I would watch it, but it's fine.
No, it's not not yet, but yeah, I think we should.
Also, is that beam behind you just solid wood?
Yeah, yeah, it is.
Damn, that's badass. It's not like Stapel, it's like just one piece of wood?
No, I think it's multiple layers actually.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
when I look a bit closer.
Someone tore down the tree in the Notre Dame forest for that. Good Lord.
So speaking of updating Notebook to patch releases of JupyterLab, there's this pull request which adds a workflow, and previously I believe I used this with some success. I don't know, maybe that would simplify.
Yeah. You said you tried it before?
Yeah, that was for one of the updates that I did. I think it was 7.5. No, from 4 to 5.
Yeah, I think that would be great because it is indeed adding a little bit of maintenance burden to do it every time. And I think I don't remember if the Jupyter desktop also does something similar.
Yeah, the JupyterLab desktop has it even better when it comes, because it also automatically opens the pull requests. I think this workflow will it open the pull request as well, or just yes, it will open a pull request as well. Yeah, so that would be very nice to have.
Okay, cool. Yeah, thanks for. I think I forgot about that one. And it looks like it's just adding a standalone workflow. So I guess we could just give it a try then.
Yeah, and iterate us if there are any issues.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I guess we can do the patch release for Notebook, and then also see if it works with the pre-release of JupyterLab 4.4, so that we can have also pre-release for Notebook 7.4. And if it works, then we could also, I don't know how much work it would be to also do that in JupyterLite, which by the way just got the first the pre-release, but for 7.3 and Notebook JupyterLab 4.3 and Notebook 7.3. So it's still a little bit what kind of one version behind, but I'm hoping we can, if there is no issue with this, we can also have it out soon and try to update to this new 4.4 right away.
To be frank, it's a very good timing because 4.3 has really stabilized now. It's like the best version to recommend right now.
Have we already discussed the release timeline for 4.4 or not yet? I don't remember if that was the case. I guess we're still kind of evaluating a little bit what we would like to have right in this release.
I would say once content providers and subshells are in, we could start talking about dates. And it seems like this could be in next week.
Oh,
but so far, sorry, just
go for
finish
it.
that. So far, there was very few features on that branch, and that was basically this JSON import and export. So the delta compared to 4.3 is very small, and even though 4.4.0 Alpha 1 has pretty large changelog, it's mostly things which were released in smaller backfix patches on 4.3x.
Yeah, I found the 4.4 release plan issue again, and I see that there were a few. There are just a few features listed, and the two of them are the ones that you just mentioned. Yeah, I would like to finish also the other one about the service manager before we'll see, hopefully before we start the beta.
Yeah, so while that's going on, I just dropped a link in there to 17087, which is the regular expression adding an ESLint regular expression thing. So, you pay like, you get into that whole code golf thing, right? Like write a regular expression that writes regular expressions, that kind of thing. So it is a non-trivial dependency. It carries about a megabyte, but you get feedback as you're typing a bad regular expression rather than an hour later from CodeQL. So I punched it on, there's 2 PRs. One just adds it and leaves all the errors for the logs. The other ran the fixer a couple of times because it flip-flops with prettier a little bit. So that then gets it down to what the hell number is now? I think that gets it down to like 30. Let's see. What does it say? And I haven't updated this or anything in a while. Actually, I don't see it now. So maybe they just all fell into warnings. Where's the lint? So damn hard to find the lint job. Where is the lint job? There it is.
There's at least 2.
Yeah. So running the fixer leaves it with 45 errors. Yeah. 45 errors. So, and some of them, I don't know, like an undefined capture group, is it expensive to have capture groups that don't, that you're not using? I don't really like where it replaces things with the Unicode symbols because I don't speak Unicode 4-digit codes, which is kind of a bummer. I mean, I guess that'd be a valuable life skill, but anyhow. Yeah, so I guess, maybe we turn off the capture groups. A couple of the other ones look okay. But anyhow, so that might be a good thing. Some of those are performance focused, and some of them are just, help prevent against DDoS stuff. ReDOS, I guess, is the term. Which how many times have we had to upgrade dependencies that have that? So I feel like just getting this in the mix quicker and helping people write better stuff up front might be good. But again, new dependencies, non-trivial dependencies, and wouldn't want that to be a problem in the future. So I don't know. Oh, and the follow-on on that was to create a, old high Jupyter dialect of ESLint so that Notebook or JupyterLite or anybody else could just pull in that plugin and get that. I guess it wouldn't be a plugin, it'd be a configuration. Pull in that configuration and be validating against the same thing as the upstream JupyterLab, which that could be nice. I would use that and put it in the extension template thing. Like, or wait, did they take out linting because it was too scary? Like, if all it's doing, damn, that's not it. Where's that copy thing? There we go. Copy template. I don't know if it has. Yeah, it does. Okay. Yeah, and you can't even opt out. Sweet. That's the way it should be. Otherwise, who cares? So yeah, being able to down select, like we've got ESLint config prettier, and ESLint plugin prettier, and the same thing with stylelint. So if we had JupyterLab config prettier and JupyterLab config, or sorry, ESLint config JupyterLab and ESLint config and stylelint config JupyterLab, we could just wrap all those things up into there, or just wrap all of it up in one, right? Like you'd still have to write some rules for your own repo because there'd be like names of packages and stuff that have to change a little bit. But that could potentially be a helpful way to have to answer fewer problems in chats on Zulip or Discourse or whatever that a linter could find. That is all.
As long as it's not going to be such a burden as stylint when it comes to the regex, that would be nice.
What do you mean specifically?
There was a problem with update because they removed some of stuff and stopped maintaining.
Oh, well, you'd still be able to pin stuff. But yeah. I mean, all the linters, they all have problems. ESLint go into that new fangled config format. Maybe that would be the right time to do it. At some point, we will have to upgrade if we want to continue to use ESLint. I have been avoiding that because I don't feel like having to migrate my linters, but and there's nothing particularly automated that helps do it because, let's write our config file in JSON or in JavaScript so that it's not possible to reason about it. But yeah, maybe that's the timeline where it makes sense to do that. And I don't think that would be a 4.4 thing. Now Builder keeps coming up. Is anybody doing anything with that? The Builder repo that the Summer of Code folks started?
You mean the extracting the build tools to that's repo, right?
To its own installable package, yeah.
To it, yeah.
Well,
I haven't seen any updates on that recently. And that is indeed something that could be, part of a minor release. I'm not sure it will be for 4.4 though, because
no.
Yeah.
Not at this point. We would have wanted to have already done several releases with it, right, before we even get into that. I mean, it should. Well, that's the thing. By being a separate package, like it should not be Jupyter Builder 4.4.3 or whatever, right? Like it should be on its own version release cadence, and it should be possible to build for older JupyterLabs back to some supported version, which I guess would be now 4.1 or whatever, however back we do security patches. Yeah, that would decoupling those would really help a lot. So if you could continue to build, if you didn't have to change your PyProject TOML build system entry and just had to change an expected line in your package.json, that would be a lot easier to help people migrate. Make that a nice fat version window for as long as you just add more versions for which it can build successfully and in a testable manner, build extensions, you could make that. People don't like changing their build system line in PyProject TOML. That's what it boils down to. So yeah, the one thing that I still hadn't yet seen it. What the hell is this? Hadn't yet seen a change on is a bunch of the complexity comes from core path and needing access to the package.json in staging. And that file does not exist on NPM. So we might need to backfill packages back until the support window, or whatever. Not call it application top, because I think that would really be a nightmare. But some other thing that is not used at all by JupyterLab itself, but that would provide those resolutions, because it's still going to install them. Like, even though you've got the staging folder there, It doesn't look at any of that, right? It doesn't look at the Webpack chunks or, you know, anything like that. Doesn't care. It just needs those resolutions, I'm pretty sure. So, you know, you'd imagine this empty package that has no files. I guess it has a license and README, but and package JSON. And then during the build, I guess try to pull JupyterLab if it is available. If you happen to be that in that environment, like during JupyterLab develop and stuff like that, you will have to have JupyterLab around because it actually does stuff to like your files on disk. But during a straight build, you know, hatch build, whatever, that's going to call out to it, it would just need that file. It would need to know which version, what is your minimum supported JupyterLab, and try and build against that. Or, you know, whatever it happens to be. So, you know, that would take it from, because, you know, whatever the base install is, I mean, like, what happens if I do that right now? Mamba create -n dry run. Oh, taking its sweet time. So it still isn't going to install. Yeah, okay. So that's 142 packages. So, and that's without any other build system in there. Although I think it probably pulls in setup tools. Nope. Yep. It does pull in setup tools. And the setup tools is only used in the builder. And it's only used for develop. So, you know, there's really a lot of potential to simplify what that build environment looks like. And that's going to allow extension authors and downstream app authors. I don't remember. Is the scope of Builder to include the things that Light would need and Invoicey and all those things? How do you say that word? Someone who speaks French.
You mean the voilà version of?
Yeah.
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 Voici. Yeah.
Voici? You actually say the last I? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I learned the German Ruhrgebiet R, and then I gave up, and I can't learn anything else. Yeah, so having Builder be able to be like most of what Light does would be rad. You know, if we had you still have to give it a template because that you need that power at the end of the day to change what goes in index HTML. But man, I mean, there's a lot of duplicated stuff there, and we miss stuff sometimes, right? Like we missed that class name that got added. And that, I think that, yeah, did that come from the template? So anyhow, maybe there's a template path thing, or it uses handlebars or mustaches or something like that. So maybe there's a little bit of config there, but if it doesn't add a lot, like that would be amazing. You know, like it's still weird to pip install stuff that you're only gonna use with Node.js, but fact remains, Node.js doesn't know where the Jupyter path is. You know, there's not a lot we can do about that. It doesn't know what a prefix is. You know, it doesn't know what a system prefix is. It doesn't know what a operating system is. So, yeah, not in the 4.4 line, but I think that's a thing that we do need. I guess it would make the most sense on a 5.0, but you'd want it to already be able to build 4.x, right? You'd want to be able to build 4.x extension. So introduce it in the 4.4 line, or sorry, in the 4.x line, and then fully cut over to 5. And it would not have any of that capability anymore. And you'd have to install those things to get lab extension build and stuff like that. That's it. I actually have to use the bathroom, so I will bid you farewell. Should probably be gone when I get back. Thank you, everybody.
All right, we don't have anything else on the agenda, that's for sure. Is there anything else we would like, or anyone would like to discuss on the record? Otherwise, I can stop the recording, and if there is anything anyone would like to discuss off the record, we can do that. Okay, I'll stop the recording then, unless someone would voice something. Okay, you will hear a sound